I'm sorry that took so much longer than the others.
What's up, guys? Essentially, I'm going to be teaching you how to create your own animation in general for Xenoverse 2. This is going to be like, I'd say like part 1 of how to do that. I haven't made too far with it, but I do have a lot of experience with it. Sorry for the delay, but now that the tutorial's out, without further ado, let's just dive into it. You should have already a 3-letter code folder from the last video tutorial I made. You can check that out in the description if you haven't seen it. Then you're just going to want to highlight all the important body parts of the model. If you're not familiar, here's a little reminder what all the important EMD pieces of the model are. As long as those EMD pieces are in the same folder as the EMM and EMB and on such and such, it'll show color, versus the folder didn't have that. The model would look white on the Xenoviewer. The Xenoviewer shows nothing. Probably just need another Xenoviewer. You might have an older version. Basically, want to drag all that into the skeleton, which is the ESK. Drag that to your Xenoviewer 2. You also want to drag in your EAN. So you drag that in, you drag EAN inside. Once everything's onto your skeleton, the model will stick to the skeleton. The skeleton will basically do the long list of animations you see here. We're going to be manipulating all of these different vanilla built-in game animations. We can potentially just transform those into our own animation. Make little adjustments, ultimately building up to making a potentially 100% unique animation for our created cast character. I'd rather call it an anti-CAC. It don't matter. So once you have all that together, by the way, I will link all the needed tools in the description. Link it for you. You're also gonna need Blender. I figured this out on my own, hard way, because there's only one tutorial out there that I know of besides this one. Not only is it way older, but it involves an older version of Blender. Don't forget to make a new folder, by the way, for your grab animation. You don't want to get confused. You're going to want to highlight your EAN, your ESK, and then you don't have to highlight all the EMD files for your character model, but just all the important ones so that you can actually get a good preview of what your animation is going to look like. You want to highlight all those important EMDs, not the EMMs, only the EMDs that you need, and the ESK and EAN. All those at the same time, and if it helps, drag into a separate folder, like I just did. And then you're going to highlight all of that and just drag it into your EMD to FBX converter. It'll take a moment and it should give you your own FBX file. Diving straight into Blender, this is where you start basically importing it in here, and then you start your animation. I will say that it can be a little bit time consuming, but it's really not that hard. It all depends on like how quick you make up your mind on what you're trying to really make. That and rigging, we haven't gotten that far yet. Not even in this tutorial. I'm not even gonna get into it in this tutorial, because we're not near that far yet. Now that we've done that, we're just simply gonna... Also, another thing that helps me is when I'm trying to find the FBX file that I just converted, I like to go back to the current folder that I recently did it in, copy the location path, and just paste it in when I'm searching for the file. You can do this by clicking on the top left corner of Blender where it says File, and then you want to click on Import FBX, and then you want to basically search for your file. And then ignore the first mistake I made in this, but you can visually see me correcting my mistake. But yeah, once you find that, you're then going to want to click Import FBX, and if you did it correctly, it will definitely take a minute. I guess it would depend on the computer too, but it'll definitely take a moment. If you did it correctly, it should load in like this, and you're gonna start seeing all these triangles around it. Those are the bones of the character model. You're gonna want to click on the animation tab, and then on the bottom left corner, you're gonna see a dope sheet. You're gonna want to click on that, and then click on Action Editor. Then you're gonna want to click on top of there under Scripting. Right under where it says Viewport Gizmos, you're going to want to click on Location and Rotation. That way you have full control of the body. Unleashed told me he had like work in progress tool or something like that going on. I'm not fully sure as to what he was talking about, but basically in the future we can expect a better way of animating, because as of right now, the way we're able to move these character models around, it's not the way they're supposed to be moved around, but it still sort of sticks. So we're gonna have to go with this for now. Oh yeah, that reminds me, I never finished that one sentence. So about that old tutorial for animating that came right before this one, like the only other animating tutorial besides this one that I've seen, it involves a really old version of Blender, so I basically had to figure out most of it myself. Like for example, there was this tool called Lockrot, whatever you want to call it. Lockrot. Yeah, I think that's so odd. Basically, on the newer version of Blender, it's considered location rotation. We'll get into that later in this tutorial. I'll definitely explain more about it in a little bit. But yeah, it's small stuff like that that I figured out that made it, you know, that made it easier for me to make these animations on the newer current versions of Blender. And I thought it would be really helpful for you guys to learn how to animate on like the latest version of Blender without having to rely on older versions. So when making an animation, in case you haven't noticed, you're basically going to want to use, what you want to use for the structure of your animation is a already vanilla built-in game animation. You can go through the list of poses over on your Action tab, right next to where I put New Grab. See like a little arrow. Click that and it's like a long list of animations. You pick one that you want to start off with, you know, as like, you know, a pose you want to start off with, basically. If you want, you can delete all the keyframes that are in there and keep them in that pose, or you can keep the current keyframes and then just change a certain amount. And then you basically want to rename that current pose that you're on to a new pose, And then instead of replacing that pose, normally it would just make a new animation, basically. Like I named it new grab, but I can always go back to the original usually. And I can just keep going back and forth between the two. Another thing that helps is if you want to highlight a certain amount of you want to highlight a certain body part pose. Like let's say you want your hand to have like a fist. Yeah, let's say you want that fist to have an open hand. You can go to an animation that shows the key blasting animation, and basically hold down Control and then right click at the same time, and then you can basically just hold down right click and drag around it, and it'll form like a little circle or whatever. You want to basically lasso around it. It's kind of weird, it's hard to explain, but it'll highlight all the bones around that body piece. You can hit Control C to copy it, and then it'll copy all those bones so that it will change the pose of the other animation you were trying to change. So you can change that punch into an open hand if you want to, for example. That also helps out when you're making a custom pose for your custom animation. Another thing you can sort of see me doing is deleting keyframes. This helps when I'm trying to make my own custom animation. That way it goes from being a altered vanilla animation to a completely different animation altogether. This animation is a rather rushed animation. It's not really one of my best animations. I'd say my work in progress Ultra Ego Vegeta grab is way better than this. A lot of unreleased projects that I've been not finished with lately, but I'm gonna hurry up and get some out there because I don't want my Patreon to die out. Let's see. Why have I not informed? Oh, as a matter of fact, I almost forgot to tell you how to make keyframes. Huh. So you'll notice on the bottom, there's a bunch of dots on the dope sheet. Now, every one of those dots are considered keyframes. You see that row of yellow dots that are like stretched away from that giant group of dots? That's normally how keyframes are supposed to look. No one has the time to put like 50,000 keyframes. That's just, if you import an already existing animation, it's just gonna turn out that way. Like by the time we're done with this animation, all the stretched out dots from the custom animation we made will just be grouped up together. Like, no one has the time to put in like 500 keyframes. It's just filling in for all the empty slots. But yeah, like if you were to grab a completely different pose and then drag up to an empty space up to like frame 104, it'll just connect the two dots with like a straight line and slowly transition into that pose for you. 3D animating is a lot easier than 2D animating. But it does require a lot of work if you're going to make it really nice. If you're going to move around your camera a lot better, you can also hold down the scroll button on your mouse. This helps you look around your model a lot better. And another thing, in order to make a keyframe, you're gonna, I don't know if you noticed me doing it in the video, but you're going to want to basically, once you have a pose that you want, so let's say you notice how I drag my, explain this. For example, if I were to drag the blue line up to 30 frames later from frame 70, up to like frame 100, you would basically change the pose on that specific frame, and I cannot stress this enough, make sure you are on the frame you want to put that pose in ahead of time. And if you don't do that, then you have to just Control-C copy the entire pose. But just make sure you pay attention to what you're doing, that you're careful. Once you're on the exact frame you want to add the custom pose to, you're gonna basically make sure your character's in that pose on that frame. You want to hit A to select all the bones of that pose, and then you're gonna want to right click on it, and then you're gonna click Insert Keyframe. Once you click Insert Keyframe, you're gonna click Location Rotation. Once you click that, it's gonna create a keyframe for that keyframe. It's gonna basically insert a keyframe for that frame, and once it's in that time frame, you're basically able to continue your animation from there. It's a good way to build it up. A lot of times, when you there are two ways to look at what's what. So if you forget what the name of your grab is or what EAN index it is, you can always look at either your moveset organizer, EAN organizer, Xenoviewer. Actually, Xenoviewer, I don't know if it exactly shows. It definitely shows the name of the animation, at least. EAC organizer is the bigger version of the moveset organizer. Okay, so now we've come to the part where we're done our animation. Also, I almost forgot to tell you, on the bottom right corner where it says start, that's the very first frame that your animation starts at. And then where it says end is basically how many frames your animation goes on for. Total. The first thing you're gonna want to do is basically make sure you want to click on an empty space to make sure there's absolutely nothing highlighted on the character. And then you're going to want to click A again to select on the entire character model. And you're going to want to search up T-pose in your list of animations. You're going to click on it, but he's not going to go in a T-pose just yet. What you're going to want to do is hold Alt, and then while you're holding Alt, you're going to hit G, and then after that let go of everything on your keyboard. Then you're going to hold Alt, and then while you're holding Alt, you're going to click R, and then after that you're going to let go of your keyboard again. Don't hit both of them at the same time, because that's not what you're supposed to do. But if you did this correctly, it will finally go into a T-pose like it's supposed to. So you hit the I button on your keyboard afterwards, that's when it starts creating the new keyframe. My mistake. But once you click that, you're gonna want to click on the top left corner, and you're gonna click Export FBX. Gosh. But before you fully go on exporting it, I'm gonna need you to slow down, because there are a couple of settings you're gonna want to have before you fully export it. You're gonna want to click Selected Objects, and then you're gonna want to click on FBX All. You're also gonna want to click on right under Armature where it says Add Leaf Bones. You're gonna uncheck that. And then from there, you're ready to export. Make sure you know exactly where you're going to export it. And once that's done, it's gonna buffer for an extremely long amount of time, depending on your computer. But when it's finished, Alright, now that it's finished, you are going to want to go to your EMD to FBX. Instead of EMD to FBX converter, you're going to go to your FBX to EMD converter. And then you're basically going to drag it back in. It's going to say a whole bunch of crazy stuff. It'll definitely take a moment. And then, I know, it's just brutal. Now you're gonna want to take a nice look at your. It's gonna be titled Untitled EAN. You're gonna drag it into your Xeno viewer and then drag the body parts back in. And then you're gonna search for the new animation you made. And then from there, you're gonna want to go into your EAN organizer and essentially look for the name of your animation, and then once you replace the animation in your moveset with that new animation, you save it to your moveset, basically to your character's EAN as a whole. Yeah, you want to save that grab animation to your current character's EAN file. And then make sure that the EAN index, is on the left side of the name of the animation on EAN organizer. You want to make sure that EAN index number matches the EAN index in BAC organizer. You go on your moveset organizer and go to the section where it shows your grab. You are going to want to go to that exact same number for your BAC organizer, and that's how you'll know where the grab is located in BAC organizer. You're going to check the AN index, make sure it matches, and that's only if the animation doesn't work in game. Once you save that, you can test it out, and it should work. More tutorials coming your way. Sorry this one took so long. Yeah, if you get any more requests of what you want to know how to do, that'd be nice too. Because I'm trying to get more knowledge in this stuff myself. Peace out.
They say you keep on evolving. How you so steady with it? They say you have your pockets swollen. You gotta show me the shit. Better tell you how I'm doing this shit.